that slide. Wait a minute.
Camera कहाँ start? Camera start. On कर.
Okay. Is it is visible? Answer anyone? Is it is visible?
सर तूने कट केला.
Hello.
नाव कट.
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it is
Okay.
visible.
Wait, I'm taking a slow.
No one.
Okay then. So let's start the today's session. And in this session, we discuss the concept of layering. So as you know that whenever you send data from one place to the another place, it requires some layers architecture. Without layer architecture, that data is not sent. So depend on that, we discuss some concept on these models because the layer is concepted in this created in this model concept. So the first model, that is the OSI model, is in the reference model. We are consider as this is the reference model. So before we going to start this OSI model, we discuss some history about this OSI model. So as you know that when the first network is assigned and that network is developed in 1960 and that network is developed by the US Department of Defense and they has the give the name on that network is the Advanced Research Project Agency. We can say that network is the ARPANET and this ARPANET is the first network which is designed for the sending data from one place to the another place. As you know that before days, there is the system is the standalone. And in the standalone system, there is no provision for transferring data from one place to the another place. The standalone system has the provision of the media, that is the floppy disks. With the help of that floppy disk, we can take the data from one standalone system and it transfer to the another standalone system. So, in late 1960s, the first network is developed by the Advanced Research Project Agency, that is the ARPANET, and this network is further is used for the military purpose. So, whatever the data they want to save, they say with the help of this network. But when they are developing this network is copied by the other vendors. So day by day, when the days increases, so this network is copied by the other vendors or the other that is the network development, that is the companies which are provide the networking. So in that there is the situation of the copying the network and they have created their own protocols. So they create their own protocol and they set up their own network. So the limitation is that if there is the network is of one company, that one company is not use that network in the another company. The device which has used in one company, that device is not used to the another company. So this is the limitations. So generally, यही जो concept is comes that the concept is the limitations of these networks. So whatever the protocol is assigned by the different companies, they are not used to this protocol in the different companies. So that's why in 1986, International Standard Organization, that is the ISO, it is developed a reference model. That reference model is known as OSI reference model. So what do you mean by this OSI reference model? That is the Open System Interconnection Model. So this is the Open System Interconnection Model, and this model is used by the other companies as a reference model. So जैसे कि आप लोगों को पता है कि इन दिस कंपनीज में जो इन्होंने अपना प्रोटोकॉल डेवलप किया था, so that protocol is limited to their own companies. For example, if there is a IBM company, so IBM company has developed their own protocol. There is a dealing company, so dealing company has developed their own protocol, and they develop their networking devices. So this is the limitations. So इस limitations को break करने के लिए in 1984 the International Standard Organization has developed one reference model, and this reference model is the OSI model, and this OSI model is the Open System Interconnection Model. And this Open System Interconnection Model architecture is divided into the 7 layers. As we know that we are dealing with the layers, layer wise the communication. So this OSI model has developed 7 layers in their architecture. So that 7 layer is the first one is the application layer, second one is the presentation layer, third one is the session layer, fourth one is the network layer, fifth one is the data link layer, and sixth one is the physical layer. So depend on this layer architecture, all the vendors has assigned their protocols within this reference model. उन्होंने इस reference model के base पे their protocols को उन्होंने assign किया, and they are nowadays whenever we are purchasing some networking device, so we say that this is the ISO certified. So what do you mean by this ISO certified? कि ये जो networking device है, this comes under this OSI model reference model. The work on this OSI reference model के अंदर भी work करता है. So that's why this OSI model has these 7 layers, and depend on their layers, they are providing the communication from one place to the another place, or one node to the another node. So ये जो 7 layers है, we discuss one by one. So the 7 layers, in these 7 layers, the topmost layer is the application layer, second one is the presentation layer, third one is the session layer, fourth one is the transport layer, next one is the network layer, then data link layer, and physical layer. So these are the layer, and depend on this layer, our communication is performed. अब जनरली होता क्या है कि हर एक लेयर का अपना अलग अलग एक फंक्शन होता है, एंड डिपेंड ऑन दैट पर्टिकुलर फंक्शन वी हैव टू परफॉर्म द डिफरेंट थिंग्स. So we discuss the function of each layer. So the first one is the application layer. So in an application layer, we provide the GUI environment. So GUI environment is the graphical user interface. We provide here in the application layer graphical user interface, means whatever the user wants to perform, that user is performed within this layer. Only this layer is visible for the users. Means user अगर जो भी चीज परफॉर्म करना चाहता है वो यूजर के लिए विजिबल है. दिस इज द एप्लीकेशन लेयर, एंड द लास्ट लेयर दैट इज द फिजिकल लेयर. ये दो ही लेयर विजिबल है फॉर यूजर्स के लिए. So for example, if user want to compose any mail, and that mail is sent from the source to destination, or from the one node to the another node. So user use the application layer, and with the help of this application layer, there is a many protocols we are using. So for example, if you are sending a mail from one user to the another user. So that application layer has provided the protocol, and that protocol is called the SMTP. That is the simple mail transfer protocol. And the user want to send the mail from one node to the another node. So we can take the example and side by side we consider the function of this OSI model. So in this condition, then I want or user want to send the mail from one system to the another system. User use the application layer, and in this application layer, the function of that application layer, the application layer is provide the GUI, that is the graphical user interface. And in this graphical user interface means application layer, we have the different protocols which work on the application layer. So इस application layer के अंदर में the one protocol which you are want to send the mail, that protocol is the SMTP. So with the help of the SMTP, user open the browser and compose one mail. For example, user want to say Windows file, Word file, image, music. So all this type of content is composed by the user in application layer. So this is the function of the application layer. Now the user will send this mail. Whenever the user click on the send button, this application layer content is goes to the presentation layer. So the function of the presentation layer is that mail, whatever the data you are composing in application layer, that data is converted into the machine format. Means the function of presentation layer is that whatever the data is sent by the application layer, that all data is converted into the machine format. For example, if you are sending the Word file, so the Word file is format is converted into the docs file. उसको उसमें किसमें convert करता है? Docs file में convert करता है. So the Word file is converted into the docs format. Again, here we are sending some image. So image file is converted into the .jpg. And for example, if you are compose the music, so music file is converted into the .mp3 format. So this is the function of the presentation layer. Presentation layer is used for the converting human readable format into the machine format and vice versa. So vice versa is used at the destination machine. So here, whatever the mail you are composing, that mail format is converted into the machine format. Plus, the function of the presentation layer is here. That is the encryption, and de-encryption is also carried by the presentation layer. So यहाँ पे encryption and de-encryption this is also performed. After that, whatever the conversion is converted by this presentation layer, this data is transferred to the session layer. So the function of this session layer, the function of the session layer is first session layer first establish the session, second maintain the session, and the third terminate the session. So the function of this session layer is three functions. The first function is to maintain the session, second to connect the session, to maintain the session, and to terminate the session. So this session layer performs these three functions, plus one extra function is it performed that it keep data separate. Means whatever the data comes from the presentation layer, that data is separated by this session layer, because in further when you are going to the another layer, so that data is converted into the raw bits in the physical layer. So there is the mixing of data. To avoid that mixing of data, this session layer separated that data, means it keep separate the data. So this is the function of session layer. Now the next one is the transport layer. So transport layer is the heart of OSI model. Why we call this is the heart of OSI model? Because in a transport layer we decide how our data is carried out, means how that data is flowed. So in this transport layer we have the two types of protocol. One is the TCP and another one is the UDP protocol. So this TCP protocol is the connection oriented while UDP is the connection less protocol. So in this protocol, means transport layer, we are deciding which type of data delivery we provide. So if we want that data is reachable, means we have the perform that data is reached to the destination, and that has the guarantee of that data, means you send that data with the help of the TCP, because the TCP is the connection oriented. So TCP is the transmission control protocol, while UDP is the user datagram protocol. So with the help of the TCP is the connection oriented. It provides the reliable data delivery, and it also has the provision of the receiving the acknowledgement. So whenever you send the data through TCP, so TCP has provide that data is reaches to the destination or not, that the destination send one packet and that packet is called the acknowledgement. While the UDP is the connection less protocol, in UDP there is no provision of the acknowledgement. So in this transport layer, we decide that data we provide, that is the reliable data delivery or unreliable data delivery. So this is the function of this transport layer. Next one is the network layer. So in this network layer, whatever the logical address we are providing, this network layer is provide that logical address. So we all are know that there are two types of addresses which is present in the networking or in the networking devices. The first one is the physical address and the second one is the logical address. Physical address is known as the MAC address, and that MAC address is of 48-bit hexadecimal. So in this addressing, there is a two types. First one is the MAC address or the physical address. Second one is the logical address. So the MAC address is the 48-bit hexadecimal. It has the 6 segment of the hexadecimal number, while the IP address is of the logical address, and it is also known as the internet protocol. So the function of network layer, it provides the logical address. After that, there is the data link layer. So in this data link layer, we are providing this data link layer has the function of the providing the MAC address, means the physical address. So from the data link layer, we get the we provide that physical address, and network layer से हम लोग IP address means logical address provide करते हैं. And the last layer, that is the physical layer. So the physical layer is used for the use of the raw bits, means whatever the data we get from the upper layer, it all the data is converted into the 0 and 1, means the raw bit, and it transferred to the destination. So here the media, communication media, that media is the wired media or wireless media. So that data is transferred from source to destination, and the whole process is here reversible. Whatever the data is here bind, means with the help of that header, that data is connected. Here that header is removing from the destination. तो यहाँ पे दो प्रोसेस परफॉर्म होती है. फ्रॉम टॉप टू बॉटम मीन्स एप्लीकेशन टू फिजिकल, देयर इज द encapsulation process is offered, and in the destination side from bottom to top there is a de-encapsulation process is offered, means reversible process perform होती है. जैसे हमने यहाँ पे application layer to physical layer whatever we are performing here, the reverse process is occurring from the physical to the application layer. So this is the function of this OSI model. Now we discuss one by one the detailed consideration of this layer. So here the first one is the physical layer. अब जनरली यहाँ पे ये भी पूछा जाता है कि गेट एग्जाम में जब आपको OSI मॉडल और TCP/IP मॉडल के बारे में पूछेंगे, तो दे आस्क द डिवाइसेस व्हिच आर कनेक्टेड टू द connected to the network purpose, networking environment. So device are work on in each layer. So you know that. So for that we discuss one by one. So the first one is the physical layer. हम लोग इसको bottom to top discuss करेंगे. So the first one is the physical layer, and when you are consider the devices, so devices is layer 1 device, layer 2 device or layer 3 device. So it depends. So the first one is the physical layer. So this layer is the layer 1 for the devices. When we consider that devices are networking devices, so हम लोग networking devices को physical layer से start करते हैं. Physical layer is the layer 1. Then the data link layer is layer 2, network layer is layer 3. हम लोग इस तरीके से उसे कॉल करते हैं. So the physical layer first. In this physical layer, so the layer in physical layer we have the some functions is arises. जैसे कि यहाँ पे दिया हुआ है, one of the major function of physical layer is to move data in the form of electromagnetic signals across the transmission medium. So whatever the data here comes from the uppermost layer, that all are converted into the raw bits and it carried through the transmission media. So this is the transmission media, and this transmission media is wired or wireless. It represents it is responsible for the movement of individual bit for one hop to next. So here whatever the data is come from the source, it goes to the destination, means the one node to the another node, and here we are converting that signals that are the signals is the digital signal, and with the help of this digital data we provide the digital signal to the analog signal. Transmission media work by conducting energy analog a physical path which can be wired or wireless. As we know that this medium is the guided or unguided, means that is the wired or wireless medium. So this is the some functions of the physical layer. As we know that in the physical layer we are converted into the raw bits, that is the 0 and 1, and this 0 and 1 is carried through this transmission media. Synchronization process is here. With the help of the clock signals, the data raw bits is synchronized. It also provides the point to point and point to multi-point connection. So what do you mean by the point to point connection? Means there is a single host and we perform the sending the data to the single destination. So at that time we have the point to point connection. Whenever you are sending data to multiple systems or multiple nodes, in this condition we are using the point to multi-point connection. Now here the physical topologies is arises because of this physical layer, that is the physical topologies, means it is the bus topology or star topology or the ring topology. Based on that, this all the systems are connected. Transmission mode, that is the simplex, half duplex and full duplex. We all know that The transmission mode is in the three types. Simplex means we all are know that in simplex communication there is a one sender and another one is the receiver. So the data is transferred. For sending we require the one channel, and for receiving we require the another channel. This is in the simplex transmission mode. Next one is the half duplex. In a half duplex, we use the single channel, but sending and receiving one by one means what when one person is sent, another person is received. When another person is sending, next person is receiving. The best example of half duplex is the walkie-talkie, as you know that. In a full duplex, this communication is possible with the help of this single channel and sending and receiving the data simultaneously. Means there is a no wait for the other person, that is the sending and receiving the signals of the data simultaneously. And the best example of full duplex is the mobile phone. Now the next one is the data link layer. In this data link layer, in this diagram, we know that there is the header is attached here. So the format of the data link layer is it creates the frames. So what do you mean by this frame? Frame has the 5 parameters. First one is the preamble. Second one is the source MAC. Third one is the destination MAC, data, and the last one is the FCS, that is the frame check sequence. So according to these considerations, the packet of the frame we organize. So the frame packets में हम लोग के पास में 5 fields होते हैं. In that field, the first one is the preamble. Preamble is nothing but the alerter. Second field is the source MAC address. Source MAC means whatever the system we are using, in that system MAC address. So uska jo MAC address means it is the hardware address. Next one is the destination MAC address, means the data is sending from one system to the another system. So another system MAC address, that is the destination address. Next one is the data, and the last one is the frame check sequence. So we discuss this, what is the use of that frame check sequence in the further slide. So this is the structure of data link layer, and it is the function of data link layer is it has the framing. Framing means the stream of bits into manageable data unit, that is the physical address, that is the MAC address. Flow control, it also manages the flow control. In a CL, we discuss about the many flow or error control mechanism. Access control, that is also in this data link layer. Now we discuss the network layer. So in this network layer, we are using the packets. So in these packets, the structure of packets is the source IP address, destination IP address, and data. So in this source IP address means the whatever the address of the current machine from where the machine which is communicating with the another machine. So the machine which has the data to say that machine address is the source IP address, means source internet protocol address. Next column is the destination IP address, and the third one is the data. So this is the format of packet. So packet ka format, source IP, destination IP, and data. So, and the function of this network layer is it provides the IP address, logical addressing, and it also provides the routing from where that packet is carried from source to destination. तो सोर्स से डेस्टिनेशन के लिए जब भी हम लोग ये डेटा लेके जाते हैं, so we are performing the routing, and the routing is depend on this logical address. Next one is the transport layer. Now we already know that transport layer is the art of OSI layer, because in this we have the two protocols we already discussed. The first one is TCP and another one is the UDP. So TCP is transmission control protocol and the next one UDP is the user datagram protocol. The transport layer are responsible for the delivery of a message from one process to another. So it depends on the services which you are providing. So you want the reliable data delivery or unreliable data delivery. So the function of this transport layer: service point addressing, port address, segmentation. Here we are performing the segmentation in transport layer. If we are using the Ethernet environment, so in the Ethernet environment, we have only 1500 bytes. We are providing in one packet 1500 bytes. If our data is more than 1500 bytes, so we can divide it into many small packets, and that packets is called as the chunks. Small chunks में हम डेटा को divide करते हैं. Reassembly and sequence the number. So at the destination site, where here we are performing the segmentation. So at the destination site, reassembling process is carried out. Next one is the connection control, that is the connectionless or connection oriented. As we know that TCP is the connectionless protocol, TCP is the connection oriented protocol, and UDP is the connectionless protocol. Also here we are performing the flow control, that is end to end. If we are using the TCP, so we have the provision of the acknowledgement, and we use the connection oriented protocol. And if we are using the UDP, so we don't have the acknowledgement. We don't receive the acknowledgement. Next one is the error control. So in this error control, we are performing that whatever the data we are sending, that data is segmented data or not segmented data. So at the receiver side, we are taking that error. So that also function is performed by the transport layer. Next one is the session layer. As we know that session layer has the three functions. The first one is to maintain this, to establish the session, to maintain the session, and to terminate the session. So in this session layer, we are providing this, that is the data is controlling with the help of this synchronization. So synchronizing the data. So whenever the source machine want to send the data, the first three-way handshake is performed. So what do you mean by this three-way handshake is performed? That TCP has created that three-way handshake, means it first established the connection. Now after that it maintained the connection until the data is transferred from one place to the source to the destination, and after the completion of the data transfer, it terminates the session. So this is the function of session layer. Here the develop control, that is the half duplex and full duplex. Also synchronization is provided here. So this is the function of the session layer. Next one is the presentation layer. As we know that in the presentation layer, we are converted that the machine format into the human readable format. So this is the process, this is the function of the presentation layer. Also, the presentation layer is responsible for translating, compressing, and encryption. So, we already discussed that in presentation layer, the encryption policy we are using, that the data is encrypted, and also compression policy here uses plus the conversion of the data, that is the data is converted into the user format to the machine format and machine format to the user format. So this is the function of presentation layer. Next one is the application layer. So the application layer is the GUI that provide the user graphical user interface, and here many protocols are used for the different services. Here some protocols is given, that is the for the mail service, directory services, file transfer. So for that different protocols is uses. If you are using the file transfer, then you are using the FTP protocol. For the mail services, we are using SMTP, that is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, or the two other protocol, that is the POP3 or IMAP4. POP3 means Post Office Protocol 3, or IMAP4 means Internet Massive Access Protocol version 4. So these protocols are used for the mail services. Directory services, that is the depend on the DNS or DHCP. We have many protocols we are using in this application layer. So this is the function of the layers. Now here host and media layer. So in this OSI model, we know that there is a 7 layers, and whatever the data is transferred from application to the physical layer, that data is treated as some parameters, and that parameters comes under this OSI model. So whenever the data is in an application layer, we called as that data. जैसे कि इसके पहले हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किया कि whatever the data you want to send from source to destination, so that data you are capable for using in only application layer. तो application layer में हम लोग that data is known as data को जो कॉल करेंगे उसे हम लोग data कहेंगे. After that, in presentation layer, that is also again that data means that data is converted into the machine format or the user format. So that time, that is the data. After that, the session layer, in session layer, that data comes from the presentation layer, that is also known as the data. But when the session layer is provide the data in the transport layer, that converted into the segment. So at that time in transport layer, that data is not the data, and that is the segment. So this question is also comes for the gate pattern. उसमें कई बार ये पूछता है कि in the transport layer, the data is known as, so that data is known as the segment. After that, this segment go through the network layer, and that segment is known as the packets. So in a network layer, जो data होता है उसे हम लोग packets कहते हैं. So that is the packet. Next, data link layer. In a data link layer, that the packets is converted into the frames, and finally, when the data is reaches to the physical layer, so that data is converted into the raw bits, that means 0 and 1. So this is some parameters which ask in the application presentation and session, that data remains as the data. After that, in a transport layer, one header is attached, and that header is based on the TCP or UDP. If you want to send the reliable data delivery, so you use the TCP, and that data and TCP का header इसमें attach होता है, and that header and the data then both is known as the segment. After that ट्रांसपोर्ट लेयर के बाद जब ये नेटवर्क लेयर में आता है तो नेटवर्क लेयर में वो जो सेगमेंट होता है उसमें मतलब ये ट्रांसपोर्ट लेयर में हमने क्या ऐड किया था, दैट इज डेटा एंड टीसीपी का हेडर. आफ्टर दैट इन अ नेटवर्क लेयर वी ऐड अनदर हेडर एंड दैट हेडर इज द आईपी हेडर. So here after that in a data link layer, so data link layer में one another header is add and that header is the MAC address or the frame, and this the data is known as the frame. And after that in a physical layer these all are converted into the raw bits. ये सब raw bits में convert हो जाते हैं. So this is the data protocol and activities. So here the OSI model, and here we are using the TCP/IP suite we discuss in the further lecture. So in this OSI model we have the 7 layers, and in that 7 layers we have the different protocols. So here in the application layer we have the protocols Telnet, FTP, SMTP, HTTP, DNS, SMTP, and different protocols. So as we know that in a telnet is the application which is used for the communication, text-based communication. Means with the help of telnet we can connect to the different systems. It also comes under the application layer. Next one is the FTP. FTP means simple file transfer protocol. So the file transfer protocol is also comes under the application. Next one is the SMTP, simple mail transfer protocol. HTTP, hypertext transfer protocol. Next one is the DNS, that is the domain name server or SMTP. So all the protocols work on the application layer, and this application layer activity to allow access to network resources. Next, the presentation layer, no protocol. Session layer, no protocol. Transport layer, the protocol is here, that is the TCP, UDP, SCTP, and the socket and the port addresses. It is also comes under the transport layer. The activity to provide reliable process-to-process message delivery and error recovery. Next one is the network layer. So in the network layer, different protocols are working. First one is the IP, that is the Internet Protocol. Second one is the ARP or RARP. So this protocol is, ARP means Address Resolution Protocol, and RARP means the Reverse Address Resolution Protocol. Now the next one is the ICMP, Internet Control Message Protocol. After that IGMP, that is Internet Group Message Protocol. So these all protocols work on the network layer. So in a gate pattern, many times they ask these protocols name and in which layer these protocols are working. So you can find out that. So you know that that is the IP, ARP, RARP, ICMP, IGMP. These all protocols work on the network layer, and the activity to move packets from source to destination to provide inter-networking. So as you know that what do you mean by the inter-networking means if you are communicating the different network, at that time you are using the inter-networking devices. So inter-networking devices, router and gateway. So this is the network protocols, network layer protocols. Now the data link layer protocols. So in the data link layer protocols, it is the combination of the physical and data link. So IEEE is that 802 standards, that is the Ethernet, and the FDDI and point-to-point protocol. So these protocols work on the data link, and the activities is to organize bits into frame to prevent hope-to-hope delivery. And the last, that is the physical layer. So in this physical layer, that is the medium coaxial, these cables are used in this physical layer. So this is all about the OSI model. Now we discuss the TCP IP model. Yes, any question? Yes, any question? Anybody? Any question? Hello? Shall I continue? Yes? Anybody? Any question? Hello?
No, sir, no questions.
Okay. So we start with TCP IP model. So in this TCP IP model, we know that this TCP IP model is developed before the OSI model. As you know or not, I don't know. So in this TCP IP model, we see that in many books there is the 4 layer, or in many books it refer as the 5 layers. So this TCP IP model, we know that this TCP IP model is the developed before the OSI model. So OSI model, after TCP IP model, this OSI model is developed. But many book refer that is the development of TCP IP model is before OSI model. So TCP IP model means the Internet Protocol Suite. So this is the Internet Protocol Suite. Nowadays, whatever we are performing the networking, that all are based on this TCP IP model. Commonly known as TCP/IP is the set of communication protocol used for the internet and other similar networks. So as you know that this is the commonly protocol suite for the communication, and in the internet we are using this TCP/IP model. It is named from two of the most important protocols in it. The first one is the Transmission Control Protocol, that is the TCP, and Internet Protocol, that is IP, which were the first two networking protocols defined in these standards. So as you know that when we are dealing with the TCP IP model, and you are, for example, if you are sending a mail and that mail is not compulsory that you are click on the send button and that mail suddenly goes to your sending machine. It is not possible. तो ऐसा कई बार होता है कि अगर हम लोगों ने कोई मेल सेंड किया है तो वो एट सेम टाइम पे वो मेल डेस्टिनेशन मशीन पे रीच नहीं होता है। क्यों? क्योंकि हो सकता है वो मेल हो लेकिन कभी ना कभी वो मेल आपको वहां डेस्टिनेशन मशीन तक पहुंचेगा, because we are using here the TCP, and TCP is the provide the reliable data delivery. So that's why here we are using that the Internet Protocol Suite is the main use in the today's day-to-day network. So this is the diagram of TCP/IP model. This in the OSI reference model, we know that there is a 7 layer. So the first 3 layer is combined, and in the TCP/IP model, it has the application layer. So the combination of application, presentation, and session. In a TCP model, we are using these 3 layer and converted, that is the application layer. Here The next one is the transport layer. So the transport layer is converted here, that is the host to host layer. So in a TCP/IP model, this transport layer is known as the host to host layer. इसी को हम लोग host to host layer कहते हैं या तो इसे हम लोग transport layer कहते हैं. Next one is the network layer, and network layer is converted into the internet in TCP/IP model. So in a TCP/IP model, internet, this network layer is known as the internet layer. And the next one is the data link layer and physical layer. So these two layers is combined, and here we use the network interface layer. So in the TCP/IP model, in some books there is the 4 layer, and in some books there is the 5 layer. If you are referring the frozen फ्रोजन की बुक अगर आप रेफर करते हो, so there is a 4 layer, and in a denim worm there is a 5 layer. That mentioned there is in the 5 layer. So both are correct. Now this is the diagram in which protocol we are using in which layers. So as you know, we discussed detail in OSI reference model. So OSI reference model, there is a 7 layer. In TCP/IP model, there is a 4 layer. The first 3 layer function is combined with this 1 layer, that is the application layer. Means in OSI model, the 3 layer function is carried by the single layer, that is the application layer. और इसी को हम लोग यहाँ पे डेटा भी कहते हैं. So the function of this application layer is first provide the GUI. Second, it means that is it convert the machine format into the user format, and user format into the machine format. Plus application layer is also maintain this, to establish the session, maintain the session, and to terminate the session. ये तीनों function ये application layer perform करता है. Next one is the transport layer. In TCP/IP model, this transport layer is host to host protocol, means it provides the host to host connectivity. And this transport layer we use here the 2 protocols, that is the TCP and UDP. The function you already know that what is the function of this TCP and UDP protocol. Next one is the internet, that OSI, in OSI model there is that layer is the network layer, and here in this in the TCP/IP model, this layer is the internet layer, and the last, that is the data link layer and physical layer, this combined, and in TCP/IP model, and this layer is the network interface layer. Now we discuss some devices which are uses in these layers. So first of all, we discuss these layers. The first one is the application. As you know that the application layer function we discussed, the function of application layer are: application layer help you to identify communication patterns, determine resources availability, and synchronize communications. So synchronizing communications, in this we discussed that application layer in the TCP/IP model perform the 3 functions. So the first, it provide that communication patterns, identify the communication patterns, determine resource availability, and synchronizing the communication. It allows user to log on to the remote host. Next one is this layer provides various email services. As we know that whenever you are composing the mail, we use the application layer. This application offer distributed database resource and access for global information about various objects and services. So it also provides the different database sources and also information, global information in various object services. So this is the function of the application layer. As you know that in the transport layer, we are dealing with the different types of protocol. Here we have the two types of protocol. The important function in the transport layer is it divides the message received from the session layer into segments and number them to make a sequence. So we already discussed that in a OSI model, in the transport layer we have to perform the segmentation. So what do you mean by the segmentation? Segmentation means if our data is more than 1500 byte, if we are using the Ethernet standard, so in the Ethernet standard, in a one frame or in a one packet, we send only 1500 byte. And if our data is more than 1500 byte, so at that time we have to perform this segmentation. So in the segmentation, we are dividing that packets into the small chunks, and in each chunk, we are providing the number and their sequence. For example, if one data we have the data of 50 megabyte, so we can divide it into the 10 parts, and in each part we are providing the numbers. For example, 1 to 10 means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 10. Transport layer makes sure that the message is delivered to the correct process on the destination machine. So it is possible with the help of this transport layer. So in this transport layer, we are using the protocols. That protocol is provided the delivery of that data. So which type of delivery you want, according to that, you are choosing the protocols. तो जैसे कि हम लोगों ने इसमें डिस्कस किया कि अगर टीसीपी के साथ में हम लोग डेटा सेंड करते हैं, सो इन द टीसीपी जब अगर एक डेटा हम लोग सेंड करते हैं तो जैसे ही वो डेटा डेस्टिनेशन तक रीच होता है, दैट डेस्टिनेशन प्रोवाइड द एक्नॉलेजमेंट टू द सोर्स, and source with the help of that acknowledgement, source recognize that the first packet is reached to the destination. Again it sends the second packet, and the second packet, when the second packet is reached to the destination, destination send the acknowledgement to the source, and source acknowledge that second packet is reached to the destination. In this way it can be performed the data delivery. It also makes sure that the entire message arrived without any error, else it should be retransmitted. But in case if there is an error of sending a data, it also provides the time limit. अब इसमें जनरली देखा ये जाता है कि whenever the source send the data, it maintain a clock time, it maintain a time, that time is the time to live. जब तक वो डेटा वहां पे सेंड होता है तो एक क्लॉक मेंटेन किया जाता है. अगर उस टाइम ड्यूरेशन में आपका डेटा वहां से एक्नॉलेजमेंट नहीं आता है, then it again send the same data. So this is the responsibility of the source machine. So source machine retransmit that data. So this is the function of the transport layer. Now the internet layer. In internet layer, there the layer management protocol that belongs to the network layer are routing protocols. So this is very important. In an internet layer or in a network layer, we have the IP address, and IP means the internet protocol, and internet protocol provides the routing protocol. So there are three types of routing, as you know that. The first one is the static routing, second one is the default routing, and the third one is the dynamic routing. So there are three types of routing. First one is the static, default, dynamic. Static routing, when we perform the static routing, if we know that the address of destination, if know the source machine, then we perform the static routing. So static routing के अंदर में जो हमारे destination machine होता है, उसका जो address या जो उसकी information है, वो source machine के पास में होती है. At this situation, we perform the static routing. Now the next one is the default routing. So default routing कब perform करते हैं? When we perform the default routing, when the destination machine has no any information. अगर destination machine की कोई भी information source के पास में नहीं है, ऐसे टाइम पे we perform the default routing. And the third one is that is the dynamic routing. So in the dynamic routing, again we divide this dynamic routing into the three parts. The first one is the three parts. The first one is the distance vector routing protocol. Next one is the advanced distance vector routing protocol. And the third one is the hybrid or mean state protocol. So in this condition, routing is divided into the three parts. First one is the static, second one is the default, and third one is the dynamic. Dynamic also divided into the three parts: distance vector routing protocol, then the advanced enhanced distance vector routing protocol or advanced distance vector routing protocol, and the third one is the link state routing protocol. Next one is the multi-case group management, multicast group management. So in the multicast group management, this also perform under the internet layer. So what do you mean by this multicast group management? Means whenever the data is sending from one machine to the multiple machine, we use this multicast group management. Next one is the network layer address assignment. So this in the network layer address assignment, whatever the addresses we are performing, that also create the different patterns depend on the routers. So जब भी हम लोग routing perform करते हैं, तो ऐसे टाइम पे whatever the network address, what is the broadcast address, what is the first host address, what is the last host address, this all are performed through this internet layer. Next one is the network interface layer. The last two layer is combined with this, that is the network interface layer. So in this network interface layer is layer of the four layer TCP/IP model. This layer is also called the network access layer. So we perform the two-layer function in this layer, that is the network interface layer, and that function is the data link layer and physical layer. So it helps you to define details of how data should be sent using the network. So it can be defined that the physical addresses and the raw bit is combined in this. So it will be help to define the details of how data should be sent using the network. It also includes how bits should optically be signaled by hardware devices. So the hardware devices is connected with in this layer is, for example, if you are using at the physical layer, so you are using the LAN card or NIC, or you use this network for the connectivity to different devices. So if you are using that the LAN card or the NIC, so you are using that hardware devices, and that with the help of that NIC or LAN card, we connect some cables, and that cables are the coaxial or twisted pair cable or fiber optical cable. So this can be performed by the internet network interface layer. Now the protocol made up TCP/IP defined. अब ये जो TCP/IP है ये जो फेमस है ये दो ही कारणों से यहाँ पे फेमस है. वॉट एवर दैट the meaning of that, that is the how data is transmitted across a network. So इस TCP/IP के थ्रू जो भी डेटा हम लोग सेंड करते हैं फ्रॉम सोर्स टू डेस्टिनेशन, so that depends on this protocol. And the next one is the how data should be formatted so other network system can understand it. So these two reasons we are using this TCP/IP model. So the first one is how data is transmitted across a network. So this is the first point. So whenever the source machine want to send a data somewhere in a destination machine, so from where which path it uses in a network is defined by the TCP/IP model. So in the TCP/IP model, there is the IP, that is the Internet Protocol, and that Internet Protocol has the routing algorithms or routing protocols, which has decide from which path it will be taken to send the data. Next one is the how data should be formatted so other network system can understand it. तो इसमें जनरली ये देखा जाता है कि we are sending a data from, for example, we are sending a data from the Windows machine, and if there is a network, there is another operating system is Linux or the Mac or the lower network is there. So how that system should understand what the data is sent to that Windows machine. So it is the format which is understandable by every system or in the every environment. So because of that, we are using this TCP/IP model. Now, the two key TCP features support determination. The first one is the end node verification, and the second one is the dynamic routing. So this is the two key features of the TCP/IP. So the first one is the end node verification. The two endpoints of any data transfer are responsible for making sure it was successful. No centralized control system used. So that is, whatever the data is sending from source to destination, that data is reachable, that from source to destination or not, they take care with the help of this TCP/IP. तो जब भी हम लोग ये प्रोटोकॉल यूज करते हैं, that is the TCP/IP, so it take care of the end node verification. तो भी एंड नोड वेरिफिकेशन होता है आपके ऑथेंटिकेशन से भी जो डेटा आपको मिल रहा है वो डेटा आपने सेंड किया है, एंड व्हाटएवर द डेटा यू आर सेंडिंग टू अ पर्टिकुलर सिस्टम, दैट डेटा इज रीच्ड और नॉट, इट टेक केयर बाय द TCP/IP. नेक्स्ट वन इज द डायनेमिक राउटिंग. इन डायनेमिक राउटिंग, इफ देयर इज एनी node is failed or any path is failed, it automatically performs the another path to send the data from source to destination, and this feature is called the dynamic routing. So in the dynamic routing, a node can transfer data multiple paths, and the network choose the best path for individual data transfer. So that depends on that comes under the dynamic routing. तो ये दो फीचर्स के कारण TCP जो IP है ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है. Okay, up till this session, any question? Yes, you ask the question. Yes. Any question? Himanshu?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
any question?
No questions.
Will you ask any question? Yes, reason why? Yes, somebody has asked the question. Reason why TCP IP comes in the existence. Actually, we already discussed this point. Whenever the network is developed, so the network is developed because of their scenario, because the US Department of Defense has want to send the data from one system to the another system. And before many day means इसके पहले जो दिन थे उसमें that is the standalone system is available, and standalone system is on in that standalone system. If you want to send the data from one system to the another, we require some transparent media, means the that is the floppy drive or the pen drive. This type of media we require, and that's why they develop the network, and that network is the ARPANET. उन्होंने तो ARPANET डेवलप किया था फर्स्ट नेटवर्क, और उसी को देखने के बाद में उसी को कई कंपनीज ने कॉपी किया, एंड दे आर क्रिएटिंग देयर ओन प्रोटोकॉल. उन्होंने अपना खुद का प्रोटोकॉल बनाया, और वो प्रोटोकॉल के बेस पे दे आर डेवलप देयर नेटवर्क्स. तो ये नेटवर्क डेवलप किया गया, तो उसी टाइम पे ये जो हमारा टीसीपी आईपी था, ये भी डेवलप किया था किसी न किसी. एंड दिस टीसीपी आईपी इज ऑफ द डिफरेंट प्रोटोकॉल्स. जिसमें जो प्रोटोकॉल्स यूज किया गया था वो डिफरेंट प्रोटोकॉल्स यूज किया गया था. तो ये बैरियर को ब्रेक करने के लिए ओएसआई मॉडल को स्टैब्लिश किया गया. सो ओएसआई मॉडल को हम लोगों ने रेफरेंस मॉडल नाम दिया, और उस रेफरेंस मॉडल को यूज करने के बाद में ये टीसीपी आईपी मॉडल को डेवलप किया गया. उसके बेस पे उसको रेफरेंस लेके इसे डेवलप किया गया, और ये एग्जिस्टेंस में इसलिए आया कि जो कम्युनिकेशन पर्पस था, जो डे टू डे लाइफ में वी आर यूजिंग द कम्युनिकेशन, वी आर यूजिंग इन द इंटरनेट, whatever the protocol we are using, that all are the TCP IP model. तो इन द इंटरनेट में जो भी हम लोग ये कम्युनिकेशन परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं, ये हम लोग थ्रू दिस टीसीपी आईपी मॉडल के थ्रू ही हम लोग कम्युनिकेशन परफॉर्म कर रहे हैं, करके वो एग्जिस्टेंस में आया. और उसमें हम लोगों ने काफी सारे जो प्रोटोकॉल्स है इसी के बेस पे हम लोगों ने डेवलप किया. वी ऑल्सो यूजेस दी that all the models is developed within a TCP IP model. So the next one is the network issue resolved by the TCP IP. So ये जो TCP IP आया तो कौन कौन से जो issues थे उसको resolve किया. तो ये existence में आया, आने के बाद में इसमें क्या क्या changes किए गए वो हम लोग अभी यहाँ पे discuss कर रहे हैं. अब गेट में आपको मैंने अभी तक जो कुछ भी बताया है, बहुत सारे जो फंक्शंस बताए हैं लेयर्स के, वो कोई भी फंक्शंस को गेट में पूछ सकता है, और आपको पूछ सकता है कि ये जो फंक्शन मैं यहाँ पे बता रहा हूँ ये किस लेयर का फंक्शन है, तो आपको लेयर आइडेंटिफाई करके आना चाहिए. तो एज वी नो दैट देयर आर इन ओएसआई मॉडल देयर इज a 7 layer, एंड टीसीपी आईपी देयर इज a 4 layer. तो अगर वो पूछता है कि ये टीसीपी आईपी का फंक्शन है या ओएसआई मॉडल का फंक्शन है, तो आपको वो फंक्शन बताते आना चाहिए. अब आपने कंफ्यूज यहाँ पे होना है कि when they ask that OSI model and it asks the function of presentation layer, so you definitely say that this is the function of the presentation layer. But if they ask in TCP IP model, so you write that this all three layer function is performed by the single layer, and that layer is the application layer. So इस तरीके से आपने उसका आंसरिंग करना है. So now we discuss the network issue resolved by the TCP/IP. The first issue is the addressing. So as you know that we are mainly deal with the IPv4. So anybody tell me the, how many bits it carries the IPv4? Yes, anybody? IPv4 कितने बिट का होता है? Yes, anybody? Yes,
32-bit.
very good. So generally we are dealing with the IPv4, but nowadays IPv6 also existence. तो जो हमारा बेस है दैट बेस इज IPv4 और जो IPv4 है वो IPv4 होता है 32 बिट्स का. So in the addressing mode, when we are using the address, so this 32 means 2 to the power 32, or if we are consider the whole address, it is up to the 4.3 billion addresses. तो उसके बाद फिर हमने क्या किया, वो 4.3 बिलियन एड्रेसेस को क्लासेस में डिवाइड किया. सो वी डिवाइड द क्लासेस एंड इन दैट वी आर क्रिएटिंग द 5 क्लासेस. Among these 5 classes, we are using only 3 classes, that is class A, class B and class C. Remaining 2 classes we are reserved for, one is reserved for the multicasting and another is reserved for the research purpose. So in detail we are discussing later, but first we found the addressing problem means that address is how, in which network is that address, what is the network ID, what is the broadcast ID, this all concepts comes under this TCP/IP. So the addressing problem is resolved by this TCP/IP. Second one is the routing problem. As you know that the routing is the 3 types, or we already discussed. The first one is the static, default and dynamic. So which type of routing we are providing? So it is also depend what is the decision from where that packet is sent, from which network, in which router. So this all also considered in this routing. So that issue is also resolved by the TCP/IP. Next one is the name resolution. This is the very big problem in the network, because the name resolution means nowadays whatever the user are use the name resolution. For example, if you want to search a site, you go to the browser and you just type that name of that site. You are not type the address of that site, is the IP address of that site. So this is the responsibility of our one protocol, that is the DNS, that is the domain name server. It's their responsibility to search related to particular name resolution. Means whatever the name you are typing in a browser, that name is resolved with the some IP, and that IP address, with the help of that IP address, further our network is working and search particular IP address of that server and take the services. तो आप जैसे ही ब्राउजर पे कोई नाम टाइप करते हो तो नाम को आईपी में कन्वर्ट करने का काम हमारा जो डीएनएस होता है वो करता है, और करके ये जो नेम रिजोल्यूशन का प्रॉब्लम है, दैट प्रॉब्लम इज सॉल्व्ड विद द हेल्प ऑफ दिस TCP/IP. So in this name resolution, the DNS perform the two things, that is the forward lookup zone and backup lookup zone. If we are using the IP address, then it serves the domain name, and if you are using the domain name, then it serves the IP address. The both function is performed by the DNS. That comes under the name resolution consideration. Next one is the flow control and error control. So what is that flow control and error control? We have the router, and router is responsible for sending and receiving the data to a particular port. तो जब भी हम लोग राउटर के थ्रू कुछ अगर डेटा सेंड करते हैं या रिसीव करते हैं, तो वो जो डेटा होता है that goes to the first router, and router decide from how much that portion or how much data is flow from which router and वो router के आगे वो forward data कैसे होगा, that all are depend on that particular routers पे depend करता है. तो उसका flow क्या है, उसमें if there is occur some error is occur, so how it can be eliminated or how it can be detected that error, with all responsibility or all function is performed by this TCP IP. And the next, in the last, is the interoperability. So interoperability means that the same thing. I am using here Windows system. Someone has used the Linux system, or someone has used the Linux system or the Mac system or the novel network. So how we can communicate with this Windows system, with the Linux system or the novel system, these all are depend on this interoperability. So this issue is also solved by this TCP IP model. So this is the some issues. Now the advantages of the TCP IP. It helps you to establish or set up the connection between different types of computers. As we discussed that, so whatever the system is available, that system is of any environment, this can be set up the connection between the different types of computers. It operates independently of the operating system. So it can be communicate to any type of the operating system. किसी भी operating system के साथ में communicate करता है, and also it provides the communication. It supports many routing protocols. So different types of routing protocols is available. It supports all types of routing protocols. It establishes the internetworking between the organization. So whenever you are connecting your system through the internet, you are generally operate with the internetworking systems. So the internetworking system means it is the connection between the two networks, and that network is operated with the WAN connection. So in that internetworking, we already know that we are using router, gateway. So these devices are used in the internetworking operation. TCP/IP model has a highly scalable client-server architecture. So this is the scalable client-server architecture. So we all are know that whatever the network we are using, so that are divided into the three parts. The first one is the peer-to-peer network, second one is the client-server network, and the third one is the hybrid network. So these all networks are divided into the three types. So this is the second one, that is the client-server architecture. It can be operated independently. So any type of the network, when you are connecting through some server, so you are the client machine, your machine is the client machine, and you want to connect some server, so you are using the client server architecture, and it can be operated independently. Support a number of routing protocols. So generally this TCP/IP support different number of routing protocols. It can be used to establish a connection between two computers. So we deal with this with the help of the point-to-point protocol or point-to-multi-point protocol. So TCP/IP is deal with the both things, that is point-to-point protocol or point-to-multi-point protocol. Point-to-point means one system is connected with the another system. This is the point-to-point protocol. One system is connected with the multiple system. This is the point-to-multi-point protocol. So this is the advantages of the TCP/IP. Next one is the disadvantages of TCP/IP. TCP/IP is a complicated model to set up and manage it. So as you know, there is some advantages, there is some disadvantages also. TCP is the complicated model to set up and manage. So this is the one type of a some complicated model. The total overhead of TCP/IP is higher than IPX. So IPX means the Inter-Networking Packet Exchange. So it is somewhat higher than the IPX. In this model, the transport layer does not guarantee delivery of packets. So this point is applicable for the UDP, not for the TCP. As you know that in a transport layer, we know that whatever the packet you send through the TCP, so that is the guarantee to reach the destination. But here the point is mentioned in this model, the transport layer does not guarantee delivery of the packet. तो ये किसके लिए है ये यूडीपी के लिए ओके सो इन गेट क्वेश्चन यू द गेट क्वेश्चन में इसी टाइप का आपको कुछ क्वेश्चन पूछ सकता है कि जैसे कि यहाँ पे दिखा हुआ है कि इन दिस मॉडल द ट्रांसपोर्ट लेयर डज नॉट गारंटी डिलीवरी ऑफ द पैकेट अगर ऐसा पूछ लिया so you all are the confused because we know that the transport layer give the guarantee of the delivery of the packets, but here is writing does not guarantee of delivering of the packets. Why? Because here is dealing with the UDP and UDP means user datagram protocol and you all are know that user datagram protocol is not capable of guarantee of the delivery of the data. So, but it is the faster than the TCP. The TCP से faster है. Whatever the live session you are observing that comes under the UDP because that is the faster than the TCP/IP. So this is the disadvantages. Replicating protocol in TCP/IP is not easy. Means if you are replacing the TCP/IP, so it is not easy to replace the TCP/IP because day-to-day life, whatever the internet we are using, whatever the WAN connectivity we are using, that all are depend on this TCP/IP. So if you want to replace this TCP/IP, it is not so easy. So this is also one type of the disadvantages. It has no clear specific separation from its services, interfaces, and protocols. So there is some separation. There is no clear separation is there. Services के लिए ना तो interface और the protocols के लिए. So this is the disadvantages of the TCP/IP. Now here some question is uses. So that question, wait for the minute. Where is the question? Now here some devices is there. So for example, here we are using the OSI model. So in OSI model, we are using this layer-wise application. Means this layer 1 means the physical layer, layer 2 means the data link layer, and layer 3 means the network layer. Layer 4 means the transport layer. So generally we dealing with this. So some devices we are using in this. So the first one is the physical layer. So in this physical layer, we are use some devices. Anybody know that in physical layer, which type of devices we are using? Yes, anybody? कोई बता सकता है? Yes, anybody?
So hubs, repeaters.
Yes, very good. Hub and repeaters. So these are the networking devices which is deal with the layer 1 devices. So the hub or repeaters and hub, the function of the repeater is the just type of a booster which boost or regenerate your signals. Whatever the signals you are using, that signal is weak for some distance. If that signal is traveled some distance, at some distance that signal go down. Means the signal जो होते हैं वो weak हो जाते हैं. So at that time we require the boosters or repeaters, जिसको हम लोग repeaters बोलते हैं. तो रिपीटर्स क्या करते हैं, दैट सिग्नल को रीजनरेट करते हैं और उसे बूस्ट करके आगे फॉरवर्ड करते हैं. सो दैट इज कम्स अंडर द फिजिकल लेयर. सो रिपीटर इज द लेयर 1 डिवाइस. सो ऐसे आपको पूछा जा सकता है कि व्हिच इज द लेयर 1 डिवाइस. तो लेयर 1 मींस द फिजिकल लेयर में वो काम करेगा एंड इन लेयर 1 वी आर डीलिंग विद द रॉ बिट्स मींस 0 एंड 1. इसके अलावा कुछ नहीं होगा. Now the next thing is one is the repeater. Next one is the hub. Hub is the dumb device. As you know that the hub we are using for the connectivity purpose. So hub is also operate with this physical layer, or we say that is also a layer 1 device. Next one is the data link layer. In data link layer some devices are work. So which are that devices? Anybody? Anybody?
So bridges and NIC cards, network interface cards.
NIC layer 1 device. It is a layer 1 device.
Okay. Sir.
So bridge is okay. Another device which work on the data link layer.
So modem.
Modem.
Switches.
Switches, very good. So bridge and switches which work on the data link layer. So in this data link layer, these two devices are useful because whenever you are dealing with the connectivity purpose, so you require the switch. Switch is the centralized device which connect the different nodes. With different nodes को switch connect करता है. And whenever you are performing the communication between that nodes, switch can maintain the MAC table. So switch क्या करता है, MAC table maintain करता है. As you know that hub is the dumb device. So hub always broadcast your data. So if you want to send the node 1 to node 2, so if you are using the hub, so hub can broadcast to each and every node of the connecting device. But the switch first time broadcast and the second time it unicast. Means the switch first time क्या करेगा, उसको broadcast करेगा, but the second time किसी node को आपको data send करना होगा, at that time it unicast the communication, means unicast the data. So this switch is the layer 2 device and switch maintain the MAC table. So what is the entry? What is the entry of the MAC table? MAC table में क्या type की entry होती है? So that entry is, the first one is the port number and the second column is the MAC address. So the port number means if your system port has some XYZ, so if the XYZ has some MAC address, so it's registered on that particular MAC table, and the second time when the system want to communicate, it first check the MAC table, and if there is an entry of a particular device, so it can be unicast that packet. So this is the layer 2 device. So layer 2 device which work on the data link layer. Next one is the bridge. So bridge क्या करता है? As you know that bridge, as the name indicate, so bridge can manage or which can connect the two different networks. So जो bridge होता है वो दो different network को connect करता है. So those two different network which is in the same network. This is the main point, which is connected the two network which is in the same network, not in a different network. So same network के लिए we are using the bridge. So it is also work on the data link layer. Now the third layer is the network layer, जिसे हम लोग layer 3 भी कहते हैं. So in a physical layer we call as the layer 1. Data link layer we call as the layer 2 device, and the third one, that is the layer 3 device, and layer 3 means the network layer. So anybody can say, can provide me that the device which is work on the network layer? Yes, anybody?
Router.
Sir, router.
Router
Routers.
and router and any device? Yes, anybody? Yes, router and multi-level switches which work on the network layer. So multi-level switches which has the capability of the IPs and the MAC. It can be performed in the both communication. So the router is the device. So as you know that the router work on the IP address. Basically हम लोग जो router को use करते हैं तो router हमारा जो आईपी एड्रेस है उसी के बेस पे काम करता है. सो द आईपी एड्रेस मींस द इंटरनेट प्रोटोकॉल एड्रेस एंड द लॉजिकल एड्रेस. So router always work on the logical address. As you know that, as you know that is the address which the address we are divided into the two parts. One is the private IP address and another one is the public IP address. Anybody can explain that? What do you mean by the public IP address and the private IP address? Yes, anybody?
Public IP address means that the IP address we got over the internet.
Very good. And private IP address?
Private IP address can be classified as the IP address within an organization.
Organization. So there is a range of the private IP address and public IP address. So we discuss the range of the private IP address. Based on that, we are deciding the public IP address. So the private IP address is that for the we know that we are dividing this IPv4 into the 5 classes, and that classes is class A, class B, class C, class D, and class E. Among these 5 classes, we are using only the 3 classes, that is class A, class B, and class C. And these two are we are not using, that is class D and E. So the first 3 class we are that the normal user are using, or the in our network we are using. So the private IP address are which is concerned with the organization, private organization or some organization. Class A, the range of private IP address of class A is 10.0.0.0 to 10.255.255.255. This is the range of class A private IP address. Means if you are using in some organization, if you want to use class A IP address, so you are using the 10 dot and some any numbers. If you are not understand, so you can go through that host ID and the network ID. So that is depend on the class A IP address. So the range of class A private IP address is 10.0.0.0 to 10.255.255.255. This is the range of class A private IP address. Now, the next one is the class B private IP address, that is 172.16.0.0 to 172.32.255.255. This is the range of class B IP address, private IP address. Yes, समझ में आ रहा है क्या? Now the third one is the class C private IP address. उसकी रेंज होती है that is 192.168.0.0 to 192.168.255.255. So this is the range of class C private IP addresses. So you all are know that this is the range of the private IP address. Now, what about the public IP address? So remaining, just listen carefully, remaining all other IP address that not include in the private IP address is called the public IP address. मतलब ये जो हमने private IP address बताया है, rather than this, all other IP addresses are the public IP addresses. Is this clear? Yes? Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, public और private क्या है ये पता चल गया अभी?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can anybody give me the answer that why we are not using the public IP address in our organization? Yes, anybody?
Public IP address is assigned over
Public IP address is assigned?
automatically.
No, it is not assigned automatically. Generally, there is some difference because when we are using this,
So it allows anyone to connect directly from the internet.
yes. That is allowed only for the user that allows only the inter-networking devices, the networking devices, which is used for the identifying the network. So network को use करने के लिए we are using that type of the IP addresses. Okay. So the network layer, that is the network layer, the router we are using. So in the router we are using that address which is the network address or the broadcast address. We decide that with the help of this router, and it is the router is the layer 3 devices. Router को generally हम लोग layer 3 devices कहते हैं. So this is that is the layer 3 devices. In this way, we are dealing with the different devices. तो जब भी हम लोग डिवाइसेस की बात करते हैं तो उस डिवाइसेस के अंदर में ये जो OSI मॉडल है, so in this OSI model, these 3 layers comes. That is the physical layer, data link layer, and network layer. So all the devices, whatever the devices are using, that devices are connected to this 3 layer only, and remaining are the other यहाँ पे जो आपको layers दिख रहा है, that not use any device. So that's why in this first is the data, again data. When you come to the transport layer, so in the transport layer there is a segment. After that, in a network layer, that data is the packet, because here the packets is created. In data link layer, network layer में packets, now data link layer में that is the frame, and from the frame it converts into the bits. So in this way, this OSI model and TCP IP model work. Now in gate we ask that different types of the scenario, different types of questions depend on these topics. तो जो भी हम लोगों ने टॉपिक डिस्कस किया, इस पे जनरली इसके जो फंक्शंस हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किए, डिपेंड ऑन दिस फंक्शंस, दे आस्क डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ क्वेश्चंस. फॉर एग्जांपल, इन OSI मॉडल there is a 7 layers. In TCP IP model there is how many layers in TCP IP model? So what is the answer? Yes, anybody?
5.
5 or 4, it depends. दोनों भी सही है. It's don't. If you are saying that there is a 4 layer, that is also correct. If you are saying there is a 5 layer, that is also correct. So it depends on the authors which are written that books. Okay. So
Yes.
this depend on these things we are performing this. So this is all about the our presentation that comes under the LD. So you have any doubts? So you ask. Yes. Any doubt? Yes, कुछ doubt है?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay then, और कुछ पूछना है आपको? इसी टाइप के कुछ क्वेश्चंस हैं वो गेट में आते हैं। कई सारी जो टॉपिक्स है इसमें हम लोगों ने कवर किया, जिसमें बहुत सारी जो चीजें हैं वो अभी आगे जब आप नेटवर्किंग देखोगे तो उसमें कवर होता है, जिसमें कुछ आईपीस के क्वेश्चन आते हैं। मेनी क्वेश्चन दे आस्क फॉर द आईपी। नाउ आईपी के बाद में नेक्स्ट वन इज द क्लासलेस आईपी एड्रेसेस, क्लासफुल आईपी एड्रेसेस। After that, they ask the subnetting, supernetting. This all are comes under the networking purpose. So in further video, हम लोग generally discuss करेंगे इसी के बारे में, that comes under the IP addresses क्या होते हैं, their classes, फिर उसके बाद में subnetting क्या होता है, what is this subnetting, supernetting क्या होता है, this all we are consider in the next session in networking. Then, okay then,
Yes, sir.
okay.
Thank you, sir.
Any question?
Yes, sir.
Yes, anybody, any question?
No, sir.
Okay.
चलो ये बाल को बचाओ।